Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and today we're taking a look at some of my favorite EDC tactical folding knives that are out there, from some compact things, overbuilt things, cheap, expensive, and everything in between. Let's check them out. Alright, so first things first, right off the top of the bat, I'm no tactical master. I'm not claiming anything, any kind of specialized training or anything like that. So even though I'm thinking of this as kind of my idea of a best tactical knives video, I'm not actually claiming that any of these are better than anything else or best for a certain type of style or more deserving of recognition in the genre. These are just knives with at least a modicum of tactical intent that tend to really resonate with me. And we're going to start with some of the more compact options. And the first one is going to be the Spyderco Para 3. Now to me, the beauty of this knife is the fact that you've got that 3-inch blade. So it's important for me because I can carry it certain places with a 3-inch blade length limit, but it still has a nice full-sized handle going on and definitely some tactical pedigree for sure. Starting out about $147 right now for the G10 versions of this knife. Now, of course, you don't have to get the digital camo version, but this seemed like the appropriate version to put in the video today, given the topic. But black G10 is the standard. There are some lightweight versions of this as well. Start just over 100, but they're not quite as robust feeling in the hand. I tend to prefer the G10 versions for that reason. Blade here, like I said, just under 3 inches. You've got S45 VN on this particular one. Spyderco is starting to roll that out on this particular model, so you see that here. Nice new semi-stone-washed finish going on as well. Now, as I mentioned, the handle is really important to kind of the vibes and the genius of the Para 3. But one of the things it does, apart from offering that full-sized grip, it also orients the blade so the tip is brought down from the center line, a fair bit actually. That way, if you're someone like me with no kind of real tactical training, if you extend this knife forward, the tip is going to point forward very naturally. It's not going to be pointing up and away, so that might help with accuracy in certain situations. You've also got a 4-position pocket clip, so you can carry this in any direction you want, and of course Spyderco's compression lock there at the spine, which you folks know I always appreciate a lock that lets me close the blade without getting my fingers in the way. Another smaller knife I really like right now for a sort of EDC tactical roll is the Mini Recon from Cold Steel. These guys come in about 68 bucks with 3 different blade shapes, but I like the clip point especially. It's got the right kind of look to my eye, the proportions feel really nice, and of course you got that nice pointy tip as well. Blade itself is AUS 10, just under 3 inches or just about 3 inches as well. Nice heavy stone washed finish on this guy and thumb stud opening. A little bit slower to close than something like that Para because you've got the triad lock here at the back. It's not as fast acting, but it is another incredibly strong lock back type mechanism. Likewise, when you go to open it, because of that lock, it's not going to be quite as fast, but it's certainly very smooth. And again, you can get this in also a Tonto or a spear point or the nice clip point here. Handles themselves are GFN and really nicely done. The first time I showed this knife on video, I actually mistook it for G10. It was that nicely finished. But it does provide enough grip, feels very nice. Got about 3, almost all 4 fingers solidly. My 4th finger tries to kind of wander off the back just a little bit, but my hands are slightly larger than average, and I still feel like I have a very secure grip on this smaller blade. Now, one of the things you get on this knife that you're going to see pretty much across the board on all of these guys to some degree or another is you have a bit of a finger guard right here. I like it on a survival knife, and I like it in my mind on tactical knives as well. This one right here is a little bit on the gentler side. It doesn't really cram your finger up too much. It does offer you that modicum of protection if you are needing to use this for any sort of piercing need. Now, at just under 70 bucks, this is certainly not a terribly expensive knife, but I do have some more inexpensive knives, some quite affordable knives actually that I really like for this type of roll. And one of those is from K-Bar, coming in about 40 bucks. This is the Jarosz 7505 folder. And like I said, $40 price point on this guy. The first thing you'll probably notice is kind of similar to that Para 3, the handle and the blade orientation, the angle on that blade is down so that the tip does stick forward very naturally. It's kind of like almost a subtle kind of pistol grip style, only it's not quite that extreme, but that kind of gets the idea across, I think. Blade here, 3.5 inches, AUS 8 stainless steel with a stone washed finish. You can get it in the drop point or a tanto profile as well. And there is a lot of strength in the blade itself. It's a little bit on the thicker side, and then they gave it a hollow grind to keep the edge a little slicier in the process. Handle scales are injection molded over top of liners, liner lock as well to lock things up. And this is a thumb stud opening knife. No flippers on this guy, but unlike the cold steel we just looked at, you can kind of flip it open with a little bit of practice so you get that angle. It's actually quite satisfying to pop open like that. Now with the reversible pocket clip, you can carry this tip up, which personally I tend to do that myself because when it is in my pocket, that keeps the blade against the seam of my pocket to keep it from opening. But there is something to be said about tip down carry for tactical purposes, and that's the way that they ship the clip out of the box on this. Because it's a little bit easier when you draw that knife to reorient when you are using a tip down orientation rather than tip up. You don't have to adjust quite as much when you're coming out that tip down way. Grab it, rotate, pop the blade open, and you're ready to go. Next up, for about 10 bucks more, coming in just under 50 bucks, is the new CIVIVI Brazen series in the drop point or the tanto profile that you see right here. Tantos, of course, are very popular in kind of the tactical realm. And for me, I'm not the hugest fan of them personally, just because I'm more of a drop point guy, just always have been. But this one right here is going to be pretty usable for EDC. It's not one of those tantos that kind of walks the line between tanto and drop point. You do have a fairly straight leading edge, but you're going to be able to do some chisel-y type scraping cuts with that if you need. And the steel on here is D2, coming in about 3.5 inches long. The rest of the knife is kind of CIVIVI's standard playbook. You've got stainless steel liners, G10 handle scales. This is the burgundy option right here, and a deep carry pocket clip, which is going to be more discreet for a tactical option, but can be a little bit trickier to get the knife out of your pocket in a hurry. Just make sure you get some good practice in. And unlike some of the CIVIVIs out there, this one is actually reversible for left-hand carry as well. That last CIVIVI hallmark that we've got going on here, of course, are ball bearings in the pivots, which allows you to open the blade very nicely, and you've got thumb studs or excellent flipping action, whichever one you prefer. Next up, another $10 jump, getting a little less affordable, but still very reachable at about 60 bucks on this guy. This is the ArtisanCutlery Hornet. A few different versions. There's the $60 tier. You got a D2 blade with G10, but you can go up to titanium and S35 VN for a fair bit more money, I'll be honest, but still kind of the same solid design. And this is kind of a knife that, in my mind, I shouldn't like. This is nothing at all like a lot of the other things out there I like, but I like it nonetheless. We've got a 3 3/4 inch D2 blade here, dagger style profile, although this is a single edge blade. You don't have a double edge here, a sharpened edge on the swedge near the tip. G10 for the handles. There's flat or contoured versions. I definitely recommend the contoured option. Feels excellent in the hand. And the kind of double quillion style here, that dagger style to the cross guard essentially, also allows you to pocket deploy this blade, much like an Emerson Wave. And the way they have these tuned, it's actually got a very satisfying snap when you do open it. Just catch the hem of your pocket on this, you do it intentionally on the draw, and it will rotate that blade open very quickly. And as you can see, it flipped open very quickly as well. The pocket clip is reversible for left or right carry. It is folded over, but there's enough of the knife sticking out, you'll still be able to pull that open without too much trouble. And then on the back, you've got a glass breaker sticking out as well to give you a little bit of extra utility. So I'll start creeping back up a little bit in price now, coming in at about 80 bucks. This is the SOGTAC XR from SOG or SOG. Really cool little knife with their XR crossbar lock that works very well. Now previously, this SOGTAC series, before this new XR manual version came out, were pretty much all automatics. You had a very strong auto presence from SOG with this series. But I think it's really cool to see this manual version because you get this really good drop point shape here to the blade that not only do you get a pretty acute point, you also have a nice slicing profile for EDC too. The handle gives you a little bit of that faux pistol grip action, although it's not quite as pronounced on this knife because you do have so much belly on that blade, but because of the downward cant to that handle, it's going to counteract that a little bit if you're needing to poke or thrust with this guy. The handles themselves are quite substantial, fills my hands up very well. And on the back, a reversible pocket clip, folded over but not deep carry, because again, with a tactical style knife with SOG, they wanted to give you enough so you could easily retract that or extract that from your pocket when you need it quickly. But of course, at the heart is the XR lock, which works just like Benchmade's Axis lock, at least in terms of the operation. Pull back on the tabs here, you can rotate that closed, and then when you're ready to open the blade, you can do the same thing. Either pull back and do a wrist flick, or use the thumb studs or flipper. All three are gonna work very well. But one of the cool things about these guys' interpretation of this lock is as soon as you pull that back, the lock bar itself is going to move on the tang of the blade to actually start rotating it for you. And so in a way, it has the job partway started before you're even going. Makes it even quicker to operate. So since we're talking crossbar locks, I'll show a few more of my favorite tactical style designs right now. Next one up is from Hogue. Technically SIG, but it's made by Hogue. This is the SIG K320 series, available in crossbar lock style or push button automatic, and either of those in a drop point or the Tonto profile that you see here. This particular one's a KnifeCenter exclusive with a stone washed S30V blade. Comes in just under $120 right now. Now the handles here are injection molded. A few different colors currently are offered. And one of the cool things I think about this knife, especially being made in the USA and at this price point, is it's a nice alternative to something like the Benchmade Griptilian, which I think kind of gets overlooked as a tactical option. I think it makes a really good tactical choice, but you can't get the Griptilian, at least new, with a Tonto blade profile anymore, but you can get it on this particular knife. The pocket clip execution here I think is very worthy of note. Not only do you have 4 positions, so you have all the different carry options that you could want, but it is deep carry, which can be a little slower to access or a little harder or trickier to get to when you really need to. To counteract that a little bit, they gave us some ridges on the outside of the pocket clip right here to give us more grip when you're going to extract it, so it's a little less slippy and a little more positive when you do need to get to the knife. As for the rest of the handle, you got nice traction going on there. It's going to give you a good amount of grip, bit of finger guard there at the front, and in addition to that, similarly a little bit to the Para 3, which has that full-sized finger choil, you see that with the Hogue. Now, unlike the Spyderco, where that's kind of an integral part of the full grip, on this one, you don't necessarily need it to have a full grip. You can still get that with the handles themselves, but if you need a little more detail, you can get up there, do the work a little more precisely, and then back up, and you've got that much more clearance space between your finger and the start of the edge itself. And of course, to round things out, Hogue's version of the crossbar lock, which they call the Able lock, I'm a very big fan of. They're always silky smooth right out of the box, free-flowing when you go to open them, and solidly locking when you go to use them. All right, one more crossbar locking knife now with the company that kind of started it all in the production sphere with their Axis lock, Benchmade, with the new version of the Adamas. And that's the version I really had to put in this. There's actually a couple other Benchmades that I really wanted to include in this video as well, but I kind of wanted to keep it to just one from each brand. I did mention the Griptilian. I also think the aluminum handled bailout is a fantastic option for a very discreet and smaller tactical knife, but I want to get into some overbuilt stuff now. And I mean that in a good way, and that's certainly what you get with this particular guy right here. Now, these come in about $238 right now for this full-sized version with a roughly 3.8-inch blade, but there's about a 3.25-inch version coming in about $212 right now if you want something a little more compact, but something that still feels very substantial. Now, for the price, you do get some nice upgrades over the previous versions, namely that crew wear blade steel. Incredibly tough stuff, in addition to, of course, holding an edge very nicely. And we've got a cool tungsten gray coating on this blade as well, which Crewwear is not a stainless steel technically, so that's going to protect it a little bit. Handles themselves, nice aggressive finger guard going on here. Definitely a lot of traction there. G10 overlaid on top of full but skeletonized liners, but you can see the full length of those right there. A little bit slimmer, a little bit less kind of blocky in the hand than the old version. Also makes it a little bit more pocket friendly, although you do get a belt sheath for this if you like to carry it that way. If not, deep carry pocket clip, but you do have some beak sticking up to make it easier to access. And of course, that Axis lock that works just so nicely. And as for the shape itself, fair bit of belly here. It's not going to be one of those that points the tip down when you go to point it, but I love the shape here. It's kind of very classically military inspired in a way. Really, it's kind of like a drop point version of like the K-bar style blade profile, like the Mark II fighter, the Marine Corps fighting knife. You get that here with a slightly more usable shape for most other tasks day to day, but it's no less aggressive. So that Benchmade, I think right now is kind of my favorite big overbuilt folder, but a close second would be ZT's 308 pattern, available starting at 300, but this tiger stripe version, which nice signature kind of ZT look, comes in about 320. For that, you've got a 3 3/4 inch blade, 20 CV stainless steel in this case, aggressive profile. It's gonna poke really nicely, and you got a lot of belly there for the day-to-day slicing as well. But really the thing that makes this kind of so nice for me personally is the feel in the hand. One of the best feeling ZTs I think I've ever gripped. It's got a nice wide section to grab onto, so it fills the hand up that way, and it's nice and contoured as well on both sides. Even though you've got G10 on the front and titanium on the back for the frame lock, it's essentially the same profile, the same shape with the same milling. Pocket clip here is just nice and classic and simple, makes access easy enough, and it's also got a hole pattern that's gonna make it compatible with a lot of aftermarket stuff too if you wanna customize a little bit. Oversized pivot, in this case you can actually adjust it with a 1/2 inch box wrench rather than a Torx bit. And of course that nice strong frame lock, KVT bearings in the pivot as well, which give it a really satisfying flipping action, especially for a blade this large. It just thwacks open with authority. Now, I also like a couple of options out there that are still nice and overbuilt, but not quite so big. And kind of the poster version or poster child for that is the DPx HEST series. And I'm really liking the HEST F 3.0 Jaros, which are all titanium handled flippers made for DPx by Lion Steel, actually, put together really well. And these guys come in about 360 right now. Blade itself, you've got M390 steel, just a little bit over 3 inches. It's a little bit on the thicker side with a high flat grind, so it's gonna slice okay. It's gonna be capable for EDC stuff, but they were going for kind of a stronger, tougher blade in this case. Signature element of the HEST series is this cutout notch in the spine. Works not only as a bottle opener, but as a pocket deployer if you wanted to access it that way. But in this case, with the flippers, used to not have that flipper option on most versions. You've got that here along with ball bearings in the pivot, and still retains the classic thumb stud so you can open it that way. But the flipping action is a nice addition, I think, to this particular design, but by no means necessary if you want kind of the different feel of the non-ball bearing pivot versions without the flipper. Certainly an awesome choice. But again, for me, the comfort comes down to the handles here. Full titanium, and it's got kind of a similar radius actually, and similar milling pattern to that ZT we just looked at, just a bit smaller. Now these Leggero versions actually aren't that much lighter weight than the non-Leggero versions. Leggero, of course, means lightweight in Italian. The interior of the titanium has been milled out a little bit on these versions to remove a fraction of an ounce. Now, is that strictly like a deal-breaking thing between that and the non-Leggeros? Certainly not. You honestly almost don't really feel the difference, but it is there if you're looking for it. Pocket clip, deep carry, completely reversible in this case, and on the back you've got the glass breaker, but that can be swapped out for just a standard flat butt plate as well. All right, next up is one of the classics of the overbuilt tactical knife genre, the Hinderer XM18. Tons of versions of this out there at this point. The skinny versions I think started about $425. This one right here would be a little bit more. S35 VN blade on this particular one with a 3.5 inch blade with the Wharncliffe profile. And I picked the Wharncliffe version to show here because, again, it does that kind of tip down pointing action more so than some of the more perhaps EDC friendly drop points or that sort of thing that you can get on this platform. Handles themselves is of course a titanium frame lock, tip up or tip down carry on the right side with G10 on the front, and that signature XM18 shape with a very aggressive finger guard in this case, kind of one of the defining elements, really gives you a lot of protection on any sort of thrusting or piercing maneuver. On top of that, this particular one is a slightly older version, but newer versions are going to come with the tri-way pivot, which means you can either run this knife on ball bearings for the kind of best flipping action you can think of, or you can use one of the 2 washer options if you want that little bit of extra dust resistance that you're going to get from that type of construction. And once those are broken in though, like this one is, you can still get some really good flipping action out of them. And last but not least, I did want to throw one automatic on here, and for this style, I really love the Gerber 06 Auto, this 10th anniversary edition one in particular, with the stone-washed S30V blade, and this guy comes in about 180. Now the blade shape here, kind of similar to that Adamas we looked at earlier. It's got kind of that drop point K-bar vibe to it. A little bit shorter than that K-bar though. We're a little bit over 3.5, about 3.6 here on the Gerber. Handles, aluminum, and they feel rock solid. Not only do you have the aggressive finger guard here at the front, but you've also got a nice ramp here at the back for pushing on in any of those kind of piercing maneuvers you might need to use. And you've got a protruding back spacer here at the end, which is going to act as a striking plate or a striking point or glass breaker if you need it. And when it comes to the action, these guys typically do take a little bit of breaking in. They might not feel like super fast out of the box, and this one here hasn't gotten super fast even after a lot of use, but it is a very reliable and strong spring open action. And of course, you've got the secondary safety there to lock it in the open or closed position. That's going to keep that push button release from being pressed. Just overall, a solid American built automatic knife. All right, that's all I've got time to show you right now for really just some of my favorite folding tactical knives out there. Again, not saying these are the best, although I think they are all very good, but I'd love to hear what your favorite tactical folders are as well. Just let me know down in the comments. Now, we'll leave links to all of these products down in the description. That'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And if you're gonna put down your money on one of these knives today, make sure you're signed up for our Knife Rewards program, so at least you can earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time.